I will admit freely, though not without reluctance, that when the directive first arrived, I considered it beneath me. An esteemed analyst of the galactic empires, a scholar of mind and mechanism, commanded to study a backwater orb teeming with noisy bipeds who called themselves humans. The name itself was disappointing, flat, graceless, unpoetic. They might as well have called themselves creatures that walk upright. Our archives painted them as undisciplined, quarrelsome, consumed by petty indulgences, greasy foods, loud spectacles, endless arguing over glowing screens. Hardly a species deserving of my attention. Yet duty is duty, and so I descended to their world with a team of junior officers who, I suspect, found the prospect of poking at primitives thrilling. From orbit, the planet looked deceptively serene. Swathes of blue wrapped in green, wisps of white drifting lazily. Beauty is not intelligence, I reminded myself. A painted egg can still be hollow. We selected a location far from their settlements. A forest cut by a silver river, the air hazy with the smoke of an amateur fire. There we found him, one male, perhaps midway through his lifespan, alone by the riverbank. He was broad of shoulder, weathered by sunlight, a notebook beside him. A campfire hissed softly, throwing flickers against his still face. I noted the absurdity. He had sheltering structures in his cities, yet chose to sleep outside for amusement. A ritual to mimic hardship. These creatures baffled me. I watched as the stasis beam was prepared. It hummed faintly, descending like a curtain of invisible ice. He stiffened, his eyes flicked once toward the treetops, and then he toppled neatly, his body sprawled near the fire. No resistance, no spectacle. Disappointing. I had expected thrashing, perhaps a scream, something primitive to record. Instead, we collected him with the ease of harvesting fruit. On the ship, under the sterile lights of our examination chamber, I began my observations. His physiology was unremarkable. 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. His heart thudded with irregular force. His lungs rasped inefficiently. His musculature strong, but not extraordinary. I dictated into my recorder with a faint air of boredom. Specimen conforms to catalog parameters. Cranial capacity average, cardiovascular system primitive, chemical composition unsophisticated. This will be the simplest report of my career. My subordinates laughed when I added, "We thought Florida Man was an anomaly." He is not. He is the baseline. They always laughed at my wit. One mentioned the human's obsession with something called reality television, competitions of stage conflict that consumed entire evenings. Another remarked on their diet of fried starches and carbonated syrup, fueling bodies that seemed always on the brink of collapse. I added these notes dutifully. Posterity deserved the full measure of our disdain. All the while, the subject lay still. His eyes remained closed, his chest rising rhythmically, his limbs obedient to paralysis. A perfect specimen, silent, compliant, unaware. Yet there was something I could not ignore, though I tried. The faintest twitch at the corner of his mouth, a curve that might have been a smile. Perhaps a nerve impulse, perhaps the residue of some irrelevant dream. I dismissed it. Muscle spasm, it meant nothing. We conducted neural scans. The readings were untidy, but within tolerances. No unusual anomalies. No evidence of advanced cognitive structures. Average. Forgettable. I recorded with flourish. This creature, though representative of his kind, exhibits mediocrity in every metric. Their greatest danger lies not in conquest, but in self-sabotage. My assistants nodded, satisfied. The medical officer suggested probing his memory. I scoffed. What knowledge could he offer? Tales of consuming processed meats? Complaints about taxation? Songs lamenting romantic failure? No, we gained nothing from crawling through such debris. I felt generous in denying the request, sparing us wasted time. The officer looked uneasy, her eyes lingering on the subject's jaw, but said nothing further. I considered the mission complete. Capture successful, specimen secured, data gathered. A trivial operation wrapped in the grandeur of procedure. I savored the thought of my report. Elegant phrasing, crisp analysis, the satisfaction of reducing a noisy species to a line of dismissive conclusion. I even rehearsed the ending. The humans are remarkable only in their unremarkableness. A perfect closing statement. Still, I lingered. Perhaps it was pride, or perhaps the nagging need to witness the specimen stir just once before disposal. His silence mocked me. I wanted a twitch, a murmur, anything to punctuate the narrative. Instead, there was only the hum of consoles and the faint odor of burnt wood clinging to his clothes, a reminder of the fire by the river. As we prepared him for containment, I told myself this was routine. Nothing unexpected had occurred. Our empire was vast, our technology flawless, and these humans nothing more than curious apes who happened to fumble with electricity. What could possibly go wrong? I dictated the words with finality, a seal upon my arrogance. And yet, as the recording ended, I looked again at the subject's face. His lips shifted, not twitching now, but deliberate, subtle, unmistakable. A smile, not the slack grin of a dreamer, but the curve of one who knows something the observer does not. The air in the chamber seemed to thicken. My subordinates did not notice. They busied themselves with straps and consoles. But I saw it. And once seen, it could not be unseen. That smile was not unconscious. It was intention. For the first time since our descent, a thread of unease wound through me. Brief, almost laughable, yet there. I pushed it down, locked it beneath layers of protocol. But it remained. I ended the session with one last remark, as though words could shield me from doubt. This mission is concluded without complication. The subject is contained, harmless, insignificant, and yet, deep in the silence that followed, the image of that smile lingered like a shadow at the edge of vision, daring me to believe otherwise. The paralysis field should have held longer. By every measure in our manuals, by every calibration of our devices, it should have suspended his consciousness for the duration of the examination. Yet as I turned from the console, still rehearsing in my mind the eloquence of my eventual report, his eyelids lifted. Slowly, deliberately, not the spasmodic twitch of a nerve, not the mechanical flutter of sedation wearing off, but a measured act, like a curtain being drawn to reveal the stage beneath. His gaze met mine, calm and unhurried, and in that instant, every assumption I had so confidently compiled faltered. I expected panic, thrashing, a primitive howl of terror. Instead, his mouth curled into a smile that was neither mocking nor benign, but something far worse. Knowing. "Nice ship," he said, voice dry, tone conversational. I liked the retro look. My team froze. Even I, who prided myself on composure, felt a hitch in my rhythm. He should not have been able to speak at all. His vocal cords should have been suspended in useless quiet. Yet here he was, stringing syllables together as if the field existed merely as an inconvenience. I attempted to reassert control. "Subject, you're not scheduled for consciousness. Remain inactive." My voice sounded more clipped than I intended, brittle against his easy calm. He did not obey. He sat up, or rather, he unfolded himself with an efficiency that suggested he had studied his restraints, weighed them, and dismissed them as irrelevant. The stasis bindings held, technically, but he moved within their grip as though he had already mapped their limitations. His eyes scanned the chamber, lingering on each of my colleagues with unnerving precision. "You're the one in charge," he said, nodding toward me. "That one's medical, the nervous guy's probably security, and the one standing too stiff is technical support." He spoke as if he were reading a dossier aloud, his confidence unshakable. I bristled, unwilling to acknowledge the accuracy of his assessments. "Coincidence," I muttered, though even as the word left my lips it tasted weak. He chuckled softly, as though amused by our discomfort. "Don't worry, I'm not here to make a scene. I already figured most of this out on the way up." The words lodged in my thoughts like barbs. On the way up, he should have been unconscious the moment the beam touched him. He should have been blind, deaf, inert. And yet he claimed awareness. Worse, his tone made the claim sound not like boasting, but simple truth. I ordered the medical officer to increase the sedation. She adjusted the levels, but his smile did not falter. "You can pump as much of that neon gas into me as you like," he said, "but I've had worse hangovers after Super Bowl Sunday." The reference was meaningless to me, another of their cultural curiosities, but the ease with which he wielded it unsettled my team further. I pressed on, determined to regain ground. "You will answer questions. That is all." "Sure," he said easily, "but I got a few of my own. Like, how long did it take your species to figure out gravity drives? And why do you leave your access panels exposed in the corridors? That's a security nightmare." Every word landed like a tiny crack in glass. My assistants shifted uneasily. None of this information should have been available to him. He had been aboard for minutes, blindfolded by paralysis, yet he spoke with the authority of an inspector reviewing blueprints. I forced a dismissive laugh. "You presume knowledge you cannot possibly have." He leaned back as if the platform were a lounge chair. "You'd be surprised what you can learn when you pretend to be asleep. People get careless. They talk. Systems hum. Vibrations travel. You start to piece things together." The medical officer whispered nervously, "He should not." I silenced her with a glare. My control was slipping, and worse, he knew it. We began the standard cognitive tests. He responded with deliberate mischief. When asked to identify shapes, he answered with references to corporate logos. "That's basically the Pepsi circle, right? And that one's like Target, except you guys forgot the sale." When asked to describe emotional associations, he recited lines from American films, his delivery impeccable. "I'll be back," he intoned gravely, then grinned at our confusion. "Come on, you've never seen Terminator?" His casual irreverence was infuriating, yet it masked something deeper. Every joke was a shield, but also a probe, a way of measuring our responses. He was not mocking for amusement. He was testing boundaries. I noted an irregularity on the neural scan. His brainwaves did not resemble the templates we had cataloged. They spiked in patterns too fast, too coherent. My console translated the readings into unfamiliar metrics, each one suggesting efficiency beyond expected human range. I recalibrated twice, but the data held. "You're noticing it, aren't you?" he said, watching me watch the screen. "Don't feel bad. People back home couldn't make sense of my scans either." A thin chill coiled through me. "Explain yourself." "Let's just say I had a career in finding cracks in systems. Military, counterintelligence, security testing. My job was to think like the enemy and stay 3 steps ahead. Turns out that training works pretty well here too." He paused, letting the words settle. "I'm what you might call inconvenient." The admission shifted the atmosphere. My team, once smug, now glanced at one another with unease. A soldier, and not merely a soldier, but one trained in strategy, in deception, in resilience. We had not captured a specimen. We had captured a predator. Still, I clung to protocol. "Your training does not alter the reality of your situation. You are in our custody, bound by technology you cannot fathom." He tilted his head, eyes gleaming with a disconcerting mixture of amusement and pity. "See, that's where you're wrong. You think I'm bound, but you've missed the point entirely." I leaned forward despite myself. "And what point is that?" He lowered his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "I've already sent a message." The words detonated in the chamber. My team erupted in panic, voices overlapping, consoles checked and rechecked. No transmission had been authorized. No system should have been breached. Yet he reclined against the restraints as though lounging in his own home, utterly at ease. I demanded clarification, my voice harsher than intended. "What message? To whom?" He only smiled again, the same deliberate curve I had dismissed in the forest. "Let's just say I never travel without backup." The chamber fell silent, thick with the weight of implications none of us wanted to acknowledge. My confidence, once absolute, now hung by the thinnest thread. And for the first time, I wondered if we were truly the ones conducting the experiment. The chamber felt smaller than it had moments before, as though the walls themselves were bending inward to listen. I had expected resistance from the subject, perhaps even crude threats, but not this calm unraveling of our certainty. His words, "I've already sent a message," hung like static in the air, contaminating every thought. My assistants scrambled at their consoles, searching for anomalies, convinced that their haste would disprove his claim. I watch him instead. He sat unnervingly still, his smile muted but enduring, as though everything unfolding was a scene he had already rehearsed. I attempted formality, though the authority in my voice wavered. Explain what you mean. What message, and by what means could you possibly? He cut me off with a lazy shrug. You ever run diagnostics on your scanning beam? Fascinating thing, the way it rides frequencies. If you tweak the right harmonics, it's basically a transmitter. Of course, you wouldn't notice unless you were looking. My throat tightened, though I refused to show it. He should not have had the knowledge, much less the capacity, to exploit our instruments. And yet he spoke as if he had dissected them already. My security officer hissed in alarm, whispering about containment breaches. I silenced him with a glare, though I shared his dread. The subject leaned forward slightly, eyes locked on mine. You should understand, I didn't call anyone specific. Just left a breadcrumb, a signal. Someone back home will notice. They always do. I forced myself to scoff. You exaggerate. Your species lacks the capacity to monitor interstellar signals of such complexity. His grin widened, teeth catching the sterile light. That's what you think. You've been watching the wrong channels. The medical officer spoke suddenly, her voice trembling. His neural patterns, they're escalating. I can't keep up with the spikes. It's as though he's anticipating our adjustments before we make them. I looked at the readouts. She was right. His brain activity wasn't merely abnormal. It was predictive, pulsing ahead of our calibrations as though mocking our attempts. I clenched my hands behind my back, unwilling to admit that his mind moved faster than our instruments could track. To my astonishment, he chuckled again, soft but cutting. You guys remind me of middle managers. You think you're running the meeting, but the intern already emailed the boss the real numbers. Another reference I did not fully understand, but the cadence of his mockery was unmistakable. He was enjoying himself. I tried to shift the interrogation. You claim intelligence, but intelligence without discipline is nothing. Why? Then, lace every response with nonsense. With jokes and trivialities? His eyes flickered with a sharper glint, humor undercut by steel. Because you don't take us seriously. You laugh at our burritos, our TV, our memes. You think it's all noise. And while you're laughing, we're learning how to turn noise into cover. You underestimate us, and that's exactly how we like it. The word struck harder than I cared to admit. Was it possible that the chaos we dismissed was deliberate camouflage? That what we perceived as idiocy was strategy? I suppressed the thought, unwilling to let it seed. He shifted against the restraints, comfortable despite their hold. You want credentials? Fine. I served in the military, saw combat, then switched to counterintelligence. My specialty was red teaming, pretending to be the enemy to find weaknesses, which means I know how to make secure systems sweat. He gestured faintly toward our consoles. And yours are sweating. I glanced again at the flickering monitors. Lines of code scrolled where none should. Subroutines flickered in and out, like whispers at the edge of hearing. My team worked frantically to suppress them, but each command seemed to spawn two more. It was as if his mere presence corroded our control. I steadied my voice. You are restrained. Your tools are gone. Your species lags centuries behind us. How could you possibly achieve this? He tilted his head. Funny thing about being behind. People stop paying attention to you. They assume you can't keep up. But we've been sprinting in the shadows. Your empire doesn't see the satellites we don't admit we launched or the listening posts you've flown past without noticing. You only see what we let you see. The words drew the breath from the room. My assistants faltered in their work, hands trembling above panels. Could it be true? Had we been blinded by arrogance, deceived into thinking Earth's chaos was incompetence when it was cover? He continued, almost conversational. I'm not angry at you. I'm not here to fight. Honestly, I'm just tired. You grabbed the wrong guy at the wrong time. If you'd taken some college kid live streaming his breakfast, you'd be fine. But me? I can't help it. My brain doesn't shut off. Always scanning, always probing. It's a curse. There was no bravado in the last word, only weary truth. For a fleeting moment, I glimpsed the man beneath the smile, a soldier shaped by wars invisible to us, carrying scars etched deeper than flesh. That glimpse unsettled me more than his confidence. I tried one last assertion. Even if your words hold truth, you cannot escape this vessel. You are one man. We are the Galactic Empires. He laughed quietly, almost kindly. You still don't get it. I don't need to escape. I just need you to wonder what else you've missed. The lights above flickered. Once then twice. My heart, if such a word applies to my physiology, lurched. Systems do not flicker aboard an Imperial ship. Power is constant, flawless. And yet here was imperfection, spreading like frost along the edges of control. He closed his eyes, speaking softly as if to himself. I give you this much. You had me curious. But curiosity runs both ways. My medical officer whispered, he's destabilizing the ship. I could not answer. For the first time in my service, words failed me. I looked upon this man, this human, this so-called primitive, and saw not a subject of study, but a mirror reflecting our conceit. The monitors shrieked with error codes. Locks cycled without command. My security officer shouted, but his words drowned in the storm of alarms. And still the human sat calmly, his smile faint, his eyes closed as though resting. The chamber was chaos. My mind was chaos. But his serenity was worse than both. He opened his eyes once more, and in them I saw no malice, no fury, only certainty. You'll figure out, he said. Eventually, the lights died. Darkness should not exist on an Imperial vessel. Our systems are designed with redundancies upon redundancies. Power streams folded and woven so that light flows unbroken. Yet in that moment, the chamber drowned in shadow, broken only by the uneven pulse of emergency indicators that should never have been activated. My team panicked in hushed tones, scrambling for control panels that flickered uselessly beneath their hands. I tried to command order, to summon authority into my voice, but the syllables felt hollow, stripped of conviction. Across from me, the human remained serene, as though the blackout had been staged for his amusement. You feel it now, don't you? He asked softly, his voice the only stable element in the chaos. That itch in the back of your mind, the one that says you've lost the thread. Systems you've trusted your whole life suddenly don't respond. That's not malfunction. That's me. Impossible, I told myself. Arrogant, delusional nonsense. Yet the evidence surrounded me. Locks disengaging without commands, consoles rebooting into unfamiliar interfaces, our own ship becoming alien to us. The medical officer attempted to sedate him again, adjusting the field to maximum, but the readings returned false data, loops feeding back into themselves. She stammered that the controls no longer obeyed her input. He opened one eye and murmured, "Told you duct tape works better." Another incomprehensible reference. Yet the laughter that bubbled from my throat was brittle and unsteady. The security officer drew his sidearm, leveling it toward the platform. I should have reprimanded him, but a part of me, a part one despised, longed for the simplicity of violence. The human raised a single brow. You really want to test that trigger? Think about what happens when your AI thinks you're the intruder instead of me. As though summoned by his words, the ship's defense drones clattered from their ports. Their optics swiveled not toward him, but toward us. Red beams painting my officer's armor, targeting the very crew sworn to enforce order. The officer froze, trembling. A single misstep, and the drones would atomize him. The human had inverted our own guardians, turned our security into threat. I swallowed my terror and addressed him with the remnants of formality. What is it you intend? You cannot fly this vessel. You cannot navigate the stars without us. He regarded me with quiet patience, like a tutor humoring a slow student. Who said I want to fly it? I don't need your ship. I just need your mistakes. And you've made plenty. He gestured faintly to the consoles, where strings of data scrolled in patterns that no one recognized. I used your scan to map the system. Once you shine a light on something, it casts a shadow. And I know how to use shadows. The implications staggered me. In the span of moments, he had converted diagnostic beams into a key, probing architecture that had taken centuries to refine. Worse, he had reshaped it into a weapon. My empire's perfection, undone by what we had dismissed as primitive improvisation. The ship lurched. Gravity itself flickered, tugging us sideways before reasserting with a painful jolt. My crew yelped, clinging to rails, their dignity collapsing with their balance. He remained oddly poised, his body moving with emotion rather than against it, as though he had already predicted the instability. His calm made the disarray around him unbearable. I tried one last time to salvage authority. Your people cannot save you. Even if you signaled them, they're centuries behind us. They cannot reach you in time. He shook his head, pity in his expression. You're still thinking about rescue. That's not what this is. The message wasn't a distress call. It was proof of concept. A flag planted. Now they know you're here. And trust me, we've been preparing for this moment a long time. The words gnawed at me. Could Earth truly possess defenses hidden from our scans? Could their chaos conceal coordination? I remembered his earlier comment about satellites cloaked, listening posts invisible. A strategy of deception, masquerading weakness until the predator drew close. My arrogance had blinded me, but now the possibility seared like fire. The lights surged back, but not with our familiar glow. Interfaces blazed with symbols reconfigured into patterns alien even to us. The AI's voice, normally serene, now droned in a fractured cadence, access reassigned. Authority transferred. My blood chilled. Authority had been stripped from us, handed to him by the very systems we had trusted. He stood then, the restraints unlocking without command, their latches clicking open as though eager to obey. He stretched with the casual ease of a man waking from a nap. You keep trying to figure out if I'm dangerous. That's the wrong question. You should be asking if you're safe. None of us moved. None of us breathed. The drones hovered at his flanks like loyal sentinels. He did not order them to fire. He did not need to. Their aim alone kept us paralyzed. I felt the final shards of my certainty crumble. My arrogance had told me humans were quaint, a species destined for irrelevance. Yet here stood one man, wounded and weary, unraveling the might of an empire with nothing but his mind and his refusal to bow. Why? I asked finally, my voice hollow. Why not destroy us now, if you hold the power? His eyes softened, though his smile remained. Because fear is louder than firepower. You'll carry this story back with you, if you're lucky. You'll tell them what happened, and they'll hesitate the next time they look at Earth. That's all we need, hesitation. The word struck like prophecy. For the first time, I saw the scale of what he represented. Not an individual, not even a soldier, but an idea that humanity had been hiding its claws until the moment of necessity. An empire thrives on certainty, and he had torn certainty from us. The drones drifted back, not dismissed but patient, waiting. He stepped down from the platform and walked to the viewport. Beyond stretched the Earth, serene and glowing, a world we had mocked as trivial. He placed a hand on the glass and whispered, not to us but to himself, home field advantage. I dare not stop him. None of us did. We were no longer captors. We were witnesses. In that silence, a truth crystallized. He had not escaped us. We had delivered ourselves into his hands. We were the specimen, examined and discarded, our flaws catalogued with a soldier's precision. He turned back once, meeting my eyes with an expression that was neither hostile nor kind, but final. The Galactic Empires made one mistake, he said softly. They left a wounded American soldier alive. And in that moment, I knew our empire would never sleep easily again.